What's going on, artists and producers? You can barely see my face. This is Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com, and I'm here with Jasmine Powers. How you doing, Jasmine?
Doing fine. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier to the audience, my YouTube audience, I feel like Jasmine Powers is a marketing genius. We've had many conversations that she has helped me with a lot of my business, and it's funny because whenever you meet folks that are into marketing, you meet a lot of personalities where it's like I know it all about marketing and I can't be told anything. And did you put your call to action? And I've never got the energy from Jasmine. I certainly appreciate that, even though she will remind me of things like that. Like you got to cross your T's and dot your I's. Jasmine, thank you so much for being on here. There's so many artists and producers who are looking forward to hearing from you. And could you please just give a little background about what it is exactly that you do and, just let them know who you are.
So I'm an undercover rap star. No, I'm just like
low key.
No, actually, one day, y'all might see me rapping. I'm just saying.
Right.
But anyway, I'm a sales and marketing consultant that helps primarily consultants, beauty brands, food brands get their businesses out into the digital marketplace. But I got my start by working with comedians. And so getting a chance to work with some very well-known names really got me into this and got me hyped. At first, I was kind of just like their assistant, but it turned into me starting to help people get out there, like their shows that they were doing, their plays that they were doing, a lot of the stuff in both online and offline. So it gave me kind of like a holistic view of how to get a brand out there and build a loyal following.
Okay, and when it comes to building a loyal following, how do you think that the internet has sort of shifted what it means to do it? I mean, obviously, there's been the traditional grassroots, there's been the one person at a time, the word of mouth. How do you feel like that has shifted over, in the social media age?
So, like back in the day, you had to make sure that either you had the advertising dollars to get your stuff out, so you was like advertising on KJLH, or you were, going out in Leimert Park with postcards trying to get things out to people. Right. Or musicians or artists were needing to, do something like use a publicist to get their message or their music or their work out. Absolutely. But now with social media, you have basically, you know how they say it's 6 degrees of separation? Now it's like no degrees of separation between you and a person that could want your stuff.
It's one tweet of separation now.
Yes, yeah, really. It is like all you need is just to get your stuff out there, and you can attract people that want what you have and can digitally download your stuff immediately. We're not waiting for, albums to be pressed anymore. Right. They can get your stuff right now. So it's really lessens the time, and it lessens all the barriers that used to be in place to keep you from being connected with your audience.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this, since you have worked with so many different backgrounds, like you said, from comedians to corporations and small businesses, do you feel that the science or the ideology, or not even ideology, but the process of building a fan base or building a following, do you think that it's pretty much the same across the board? I mean, obviously some things change in detail, but do you think it's the same sort of mechanics?
I do. I really do. I mean, there are, some industries that maybe are not as connected socially, and that are not as, I don't know, they kind of look down on kind of this new media or this new way of communicating with people. So they're still focusing primarily on ads and third-party coverage, right, and not really building communities. I think of banking as being one of those industries, financial. Got it. But when it comes to most brands these days, they truly understand this power of community and connectedness. And so they're turning to more grassroots areas to not get rid of traditional, but to add these new ways of media like Snapchat geo filters to connect with the same people that they will also post ads to. Right. So they're just adding, I think that's the only difference, is that whereas at one time people were saying, death to traditional marketing, I think now they're realizing traditional still works, right, but we just need to also get get into this corner of the room.
Sure. Sure. Okay. And for those who are just, starting at the very base level, how would you define marketing?
Marketing, really, marketing is just talking about what you do.
Mm,
I mean, it's really not that difficult. I think people think of all of the technical aspects, like I need to know Facebook ads, or I need to
right.
know what a ROI is, or I need to know. But really, our everyday average hustlers that's just on the street corner, like that's marketing. You out there, you available. People see what product you have,
Right.
and if they want it, then they will consume. So it's really just you not keeping your stuff to yourself and not letting anything, even a lack of knowledge, keeping you from picking up the phone or getting out on a street
Mm.
corner, or just, some type of way getting what you have in front of as many people as possible. That is all marketing is.
Right. Okay. And let me ask you this, because you do bring up a very great point in that, you know, there used to be a tradition in, it's funny. I listen to like a lot of self-help speakers who are speaking to an audience in the 90s or the late 80s. And they're talking about how you got to be persistent. You got to go after it. And I feel like there's a lot of rappers and producers who get on the internet and they're persistent about, sliding in people's DMs and putting SoundCloud links. And they're persistent in that
They
way.
be persistent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They
They.
persist.
Oh my goodness. They hit me up all the time, just trying to figure out. Oh man, give me a review or give me a this, and that is another form of persistence. But how do you feel that it differs? I mean, from the obvious, it being spam. How do you feel it differs from the traditional mindset of going after what it is that you want to get? Like, why don't people? Basically, my question is, why don't people interpret it the same way?
I think people don't interpret it the same way because maybe back in the day, if you had the postcard and you were standing outside of like a concert and you trying to get your music out,
Right.
you already have a defined group of people that have said, I'm interested in this type of music and therefore that's why I'm here.
Sure.
But what I feel like happens with SoundCloud or Twitter, because I get hit up on Twitter, like people will tweet me, inbox me, and I'm not even an artist.
Right.
I'm not putting out music. It's just like, they're like, she black, she automatically love this music.
Right.
And I'm looking like,
Right.
no, actually I don't. I mean, not some of the stuff I'm like, yo, it's this dude named Joe Mack who I've been following for years on SoundCloud and on Twitter.
Right.
Like his stuff is like Dilla, okay, I'm cool. I can listen to it. But like
Right.
if you just some random artist and you just DMing people that have no you have no, I don't know, no, they're not your niche. They have not shown any interest.
Right.
There's nothing that indicates to you that they want to listen to your music. Do not DM them.
Right.
So I think it's perceived differently because you would hope that there would be an understanding or some type of interest or some type of niche that made them go after people that are at least a warm audience,
Sure.
but they just reaching out cold. And I feel like they're wasting a lot of time when if they did something different, like throw up a Facebook ad
Hmm.
with your music on it. And if it's dope, I'm going to click through to your website
Right.
where your Facebook pixel is installed, and then you could show me all the ads from here on out with your music, and now I'm here. What you doing?
Okay, so
You
yeah,
know,
you bring up very very valid points, and I think it's funny because as we were kind of preparing for this meeting, we were saying a lot of the questions that my audience was asking. It pretty much pertains to sort of the same thing, in that most of them want to know how to build a following. And most of them want to know, well, how do I let people know about my music if nobody knows me, right? And it's no different from a small business that sets up, shop on the corner of in a city where where maybe you're not of the community. How do I make my voice heard amongst all this other noise? How do I sort of cut through? What would you say is the best approach for a new artist in trying to basically not just promote to an audience, not just hard sell, but what do you think is the best approach for a young artist or a producer to try to build their audience when it comes to social media?
oh, well, I think one thing is kind of looking at people as whole people who have needs. So
Mm,
we don't only want to listen to music. So if you have something valuable to say about anything,
right, right,
maybe it's Black Lives Matter, maybe it's about what's going on the BET Awards tonight, for example. First of all, just show up and become a part of existing conversation so people know you exist and kind of are starting to respect your opinion about anything.
Right.
You're just present. But then if you have some music and you want to show, post that on your timeline or something too, now they're already like, "Oh, yo, I'm already cool with them because they're already a part of the conversations that I
Mhm.
I have already. Let me listen to them too. Let
Right.
me listen to this as well." You a good example are using YouTube to just show people kind of behind the scenes of you creating music.
Right.
People can do that. Show what you're doing. If you Snapchatting like, "Yo, this is me rapping to the beat," do that.
Right.
So I think that's one thing, is just to show up and do it. But I think where people get it wrong is thinking that spamming works. I think you have to cater to people as cater to their entire human, meaning
Mhm.
put out the Tupac video, because it's not. Yeah, I love your music, but I want to hear your opinion about this.
Right.
Talk about what's going on in my community. Talk about what's important to you, because people will start to align with you based on your values
Mhm.
or based on your perceptions about things. And I think that's where you really start to get some real loyal followers, and not just people who just think your music is dope. Like, say something and mean something, be about something. You see
Right.
David Banner out here. I don't know if David Banner is producing music, for example, right now. He might be.
Right.
But right now, what David Banner is doing is catering to the needs of the black community.
Sure.
But I bet you if he drop a new album, it's gonna get hella sales.
Because he's already invested into the people.
He's already invested to the people, and he's already um really just kind of gone outside of the music and said, "You know what? I have something to say about these things that matter to you. I am with you. I am a part of your
Right.
community.
Right.
I'm invested in your community." So I'm sure people would be probably like, the people who are more conscious
Yeah.
will probably go buy his album faster than they'll go buy just somebody who's spamming their
Sure.
inbox.
Sure. And okay, so then from there, how would you say is what is the best steps for an artist? And I'm trying to tailor this off to the things that I see you talk about in a lot of your content. But how do you feel it's the best way for an artist to follow up with somebody who has shown interest? So say somebody, because I think that's another issue with a lot of rappers, and I keep saying producers as well, because you have a golden opportunity with social media to not only find the people and be a part of the conversation, but it's like taking care of a garden. It's like taking care of a plant. You gotta water that, and you have to make sure, like you said, you want to keep the contact warm. And I was hoping maybe you could kind of give some insight into how somebody should be treating a new fan, because you always hear things like, I always read stuff, especially with customer service, that says you got to give knock your socks off customer service and over deliver, and to the point where they're saying they become an ecstatic customer that just wants to be. So that being said, how do you think that is delivered from a rapper or producer? How do you think that can be delivered with somebody who has shown interest on social media?
So, with the one thing with social is that you don't have the opportunity necessarily to like like continue to deliver that one person content.
Right.
I think one way you can be of service is if you have new music dropping out like every month or every week. Definitely let people know when it's going to happen. It's like kind of make it like a launch
Right.
of some sort and say, "Yo, new music is going to," so you get everybody excited about this new thing that you're going to be doing.
Absolutely.
I think another way that you could do it is um one of the examples that you and I talked about before was how De La Soul really kind of had like at least like a year launch before they launched this new music.
Right.
One way they provided service to their loyal people is say, "You know what, we're going to give you this whole catalog of free music." But they did that so that they can build their list. So what you could do as an artist, if you have music and you have a mixtape, give that stuff away for free, just so that you have um number one, get their email address. If you're going to give it away for free, make sure you get them to opt into some type of email capture so that now you can continue to market to them. But then when you come back, hit them with something else of value, which that's where you kind of come into the content marketing. Show them some behind the scenes, show them some artist interviews, show them some, some new dance video that has your beat overlaid on it.
Right.
Just keep giving the people things that matter to them, and then when it's time for your new stuff to come out, you gotta just over deliver.
Over deliver.
Just make
Sure.
sure that stuff is hot, and keep making hot stuff. Don't like make one bomb song and then fall off. Continue to deliver hotness on a regular basis so that people can expect on a regular basis for you to be hitting them with something new, fresh, that they can enjoy.
You know what? And it's funny that you said that, because as we're talking, I'm still getting these questions that are piling into the actual video. That's what I've been looking. I've been paying attention because, as much as I'm hoping that you guys are getting so much benefit from what Jasmine is sharing with you, I'm getting my dual benefit because I'm listening and I'm doubling back on stuff that I probably need to double back. Like, you know what? She is absolutely right. Let me make sure two questions. Actually, let me ask you this one first, since we were already on this subject, but how much of if you had to break it down into a percentage in terms of what a rapper's timeline should look like I know obviously the rules change between Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. How much do you think of that should be promotional, and how much do you think of that should be that sort of their contribution to a bigger conversation? If you had to break it down to a percentage, what would you think it should look like in order to be appealing for somebody new?
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand the question. Are you asking how much free content they should put out?
Not even necessarily how much free content, but just from pure aesthetic speaking, pure aesthetics of somebody. Let's just say Twitter, for example, just to center it down. On Twitter, you were saying that in order to make it most appealing to build an audience, you were saying that you should basically build that audience not just by trying to basically cold call and get a bunch of different people. You should vary it up with different types of content, as well as adding your voice to a conversation. I'm saying, if you had to break that down into, what does that look like? Does that mean that in a given day, is that 4 tweets that are about?
Well, I mean, you can definitely get down to the scientific and say, 22 tweets a day, and then 2 of them should be this, and then this should be that.
Right.
Number one, on Twitter, the people who saw your post at 8 o'clock probably not going to see the one at 2 p.m. So a lot of that is going to be, repeated content. I think that really, if you're going to live on Twitter and use that alone, you probably should just be natural. Like, to me, I'm a kind of a different mindset. I feel like the biggest success is coming from people who are just showing up and just being normal.
Yeah. As crazy as it sounds, it's the truth.
It's like, it seems like, the forced stuff, is what makes people cringe, because it just feels unnatural.
Right.
But like, if you're gonna talk about, like, in a given day, how much you should tweet about your stuff, do 3 times a day.
3 times a day
of the promotional.
Right. Okay.
I'll just say that. But then, of course, the other content is like, maybe you jumping on a hip hop ed tweet chat and adding your voice to something like that. Right. Or maybe you're sharing an article that you saw on, I don't know, complex.com, and you're curating content and sharing content from other people.
Right.
But still, at least 3 to 5 times a day, then definitely you can be promotional. Just don't make that to be your only content.
Yeah, and what is your philosophy when it comes to attacking social media from a marketing standpoint as a rapper or producer? What is your philosophy in terms of, many people say you need to have all the social networks. I've heard many different strategies in which somebody would say, well, I think you should center in on one social media and let that be sort of the anchor, and then syndicate all your information to the rest of them. For a rapper and a producer, do you think it's important for them to be efficient at every single network, or do you think that they can get away with? I know it's a loaded question, but
no, I know. I feel this is the thing. Of course, ideally, you'd be everywhere, sure, right? Ideally, you would absolutely be everywhere. But what happens when you try to be everywhere, especially if you're trying to manage other parts of growing that business or that producing or that music, it gets to be overwhelming, right? So I like to tell people to pick something that they know they can commit to and do manage on an ongoing basis. So if that's, I'm gonna do an Instagram live every day,
Right.
and you can do an Instagram live every day, then do Instagram live every day. But if you can be, you snapping every day, you on Instagram every day, you on Twitter every day. If you can do that, because it doesn't make sense for you to have 15 accounts and you got like sprinkles, ain't nobody seen you in 2 weeks.
Right. And you see that
Like,
you see that a lot,
like
and you
choose
yeah. Can I tell you? I get consultations. I get artists.
that you can own.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was gonna say I get a lot of consultations in which artists are asking me questions like, "Man, why?" Our producers are saying, "Why are my beats not selling, man? I put up a banner, a banner ad for $10, on Monday," and I said, "Did you put anything else throughout the week?" Nah, man. I'm not trying to spend all my money, and it's like, there's got to be some level of consistency if this is what you want to build. Like
Yeah.
you literally are building towards. I mean, with a strategy, obviously, you're building towards something that is going to require you to constantly show up, as you say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's definitely
uh-huh.
going to be consistency, quality and consistency over quantity.
Sure.
So if you can tweet once a day, like maybe you can't do 22 times a day
Right.
every single day, but if you tweet once a day every day, and they know at 8 a.m. you about to hit them with like a dope quote of the day or something like that, then
Right.
people will start to look forward to that. One thing I think that we got to understand in marketing is we tell people what they should expect. Like we program, I mean, marketing is definitely manipulation and
Right.
mind control and all those other things, but we tell people what to expect. So if we show up on like 15 different marketing channels, then they expect us to show up there. But if
Right.
we say, look, all I'm gonna do is Facebook, and I'm gonna put out bomb stuff every day on Facebook, that's where we're gonna look for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I only know you on YouTube and Facebook right now. You might
Right.
be other places, but that's where I've been programmed to look for Curtis King
Uh,
content. So a musician can just do the same thing. Pick the things that they think that they can actually manage on a consistent basis and own that mess to death. Like
right.
just put out new stuff, be creative, switch up the content, do dope, just put out dope, well curated, well produced content, and it definitely changed. Of course, you got to market that on top. If you got YouTube, you got to market those YouTube videos. If you have Facebook, you'll share it on other platforms just so that other people, that you can attract new people,
Right.
but just own whatever platforms that you actually choose to dominate.
Okay. And because you said that, it makes me want to actually ask one of these questions because there's a few questions on here that I don't want the audience to feel like we're ignoring your questions that are popping up here, but a lot of your questions do sort of they do sort of find the same answers. How do I build a loyal following? How do I get more plays? And what Jasmine's been sharing with you is these are literally the ways that you do it with the content, the consistency, and I know from speaking to many artists and producers that a lot of you guys, ladies and guys, you have a lot of ideas about what you want the success to look like, but you have not had the opportunity to establish something that is your own. Being able to spam and do all these different things, that is not your own. That is something that you're doing that maybe you're mimicking somebody else that you think may have found success from it, but that's not your own. You're doing a weekly video series, like Jasmine said, about having a daily Instagram video where maybe you're a funny rapper that likes to wear a mask every day. And I remember I saw a producer that was a producer named Geronimo Beats who would jump on Instagram and he would always have a Jason mask and he would sit in front of his MPC and he would make his beats. There was another producer I saw he would smile before he started working on his MPC and he would smile at the camera and then goes work on it. And it became sort of this warm normal routine that when you see it, you know what to expect. And it's almost like a friend that you didn't even know you had. That being said, though, somebody had a great question. Clipper Cannon said, how do I make a comeback after I've been inconsistent for a while? So I'm guessing they, went away and now they said, I recently got motivated to drop some more music I've been holding on to while making more music from the songs I dropped. I don't even average 100 plays now. maybe there's something you could speak on not even just so much how to bounce back from being inconsistent, because I'm sure that happens to small businesses where maybe
Oh
an accident happens and an oven burns down and they have to shut down for some time, or like even I remember there was a nail shop I used to live by where the senior citizen had ran through the front of the nail shop at
oh.
like they hit the gas instead of the brake, and then they were shut down for like 2 or 3 weeks. And not to make light of, thank God nobody got hurt, but it's one of the things where these things happen and that's something I always try to tell rappers and producers. Like, our problems are not just our problems; they're problems of the universe. Everybody deals with these in every walk of life. But for somebody who has been inconsistent, maybe they're used to doing a certain amount of plays. Maybe you can speak to not only how do you get back on track, but also how should rappers and producers view their plays? Because a lot of them look at 100 plays and they don't realize that may be 90 eyes, or maybe 70 new people who are engaging with what you're doing. And I always try to tell them, if you're in a room right now with 70 people in your bedroom, you don't think that would be a lot of people? But in the grand scheme of things,
Right.
because it's not a million plays, maybe you can speak to, one,
Yeah.
how they should view those plays, and then two, how do you bounce back after being inconsistent?
So first things first, we could think about a gang of people who was hot and then they fell off and then they dropped something new and then everybody went crazy. The I had just used this analogy a couple of weeks ago, but like A. Marie, she had, why do we fall, or how do we fall in love, or whatever that
Yeah.
song was. I ain't heard from A. Marie in a long time,
She had one.
but when
She
she
had one
came
thing
back,
too.
yes, she did. And she had one thing, like she had one thing come out like a few years later. And in that moment, when she dropped one thing, we wasn't thinking about that we hadn't heard
Hmm.
music from her for like 20
Yeah,
years.
no, and it felt like 20.
We just was like, this is hot right now. So I
Yeah.
think one thing to remember, and this is for small businesses, for musicians alike, just release your next best thing. Just
Mm.
put it out there and just own that. And then if you start to find yourself kind of slowing down, just keep, I feel like you just got to keep innovating, keep creating, and just keep putting it out there. People, no, our psychology is malleable, so we are very forgiving culture.
Mhm.
People still listen to R. Kelly. Don't nobody care about none of that stuff because he keep coming out
Mm.
with some bomb music. I'm not saying I love R. Kelly,
Right,
but I used
right.
to love R. Kelly.
Well, even
I
Chris.
still might.
Yeah, no, but I was say even Chris Brown too, because I saw a recent interview where he kind of told his side of the story of things that happened, and you know, I know guys that have done far less and have not recovered. And this guy is he had this situation happen that was unfortunate for both parties, and it was something that was highly publicized in many walks of life. That will be seen as sort of a career suicide, and that's not what happened. There's, like you said, it's a very forgiving culture. Especially, think about Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant went through that court case, very highly publicized court case, scored 81 points, and nobody brought up the court case again.
Ever again. I mean, and it's I mean, it's sad on one hand because you be
It
like, yo,
is.
people
It
have to pay
is.
for the crimes that they commit. But at the same time, for somebody who probably ain't did nothing like that, and
Right.
all it is that, it's just been a few weeks or a few months or a few years since they created something, looking at those examples should let us know that we just need to create something new and fresh, and it gotta be hot now. It can't be like you
Yeah.
come out like Lil Bow Wow, like Little Bow Wow, and then you're like, okay, why is he on CSI Cyber? That wasn't enough to recover and make us respect him again.
Yeah.
But if he
Yeah.
came out with a new album with Sierra, I might forgive Little Bow Wow for
That
his
might
sin.
do it. See, that right there, that is the genius comeback plan that he needs to get a hold of. If he can somehow convince her to do I don't know about a full project. I don't know how Russell's feeling about that, but I mean,
Russell ain't
there's
here for it.
yeah, I don't know if he's not here for that. He might not be here for that, but I think that you bring up a great point in that there's always, you let somebody else tell it, they'll basically, give the eulogy to your funeral. They'll literally sit there and say, "Oh, this is it. It's not. This is nothing's good gonna come of this. You're done. You're done for. Oh my God, you're not getting the plays you're getting." So speaking, to kind of double down on what you were speaking about, how should somebody view these plays, and you know, I think we're in a culture, especially with hip hop. I think it's in a lot of different walks of life where people are in this comparison culture, or where they compare blessings and they look at other people and they say, well, I must not be that good because I don't have this. How should somebody who's getting 100 plays be looking at that 100 plays, and what should be their mindset behind that?
So you kind of brought up, you kind of brought up a good view of it already. You got 100 people, that's listening to you.
Right.
That is not anything to be sneezed upon. I think where the problem is if we're comparing ourselves to somebody else who has bigger or more and things like that. But one thing to remember is people use ads, so some of the stuff could be getting larger visibility because people are running ads. Right. We don't know that all of those plays were actually people. There's bots, there's things like that. There's things that can really affect and blow up numbers. But let's just say that all of the people that you're comparing yourself to really have huge fan bases and people that love them. That's cool. But this ain't about them. This is about you and what your music is doing for people, and that people love you. It can be discouraging, but one of the things that you can keep in mind is, number one, it's always good to have loyal people, even if it's a small number. Jesus started out with 12.
Talk about it.
He started out with 12, and then it just kept going. And those people shared.
Yeah, one of my YouTube commenters said they even hated on Jesus. One of the funniest. It was most simplistic, but it was the way he quoted it and left it with a period. I just could not stop laughing. I was in tears. He said, "Don't trip. They hated on Jesus," and he put a period. And I was like, I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but no, you're absolutely right. It's the power of you.
This stuff was unpopular. There was more popular teachings of the time.
Right.
And here's coming and saying, "Oh, actually, what y'all gonna do is y'all gonna die. You need to do this." That's an unpopular thing to say.
Right.
Get your life together and stop being a hoe.
Get your life together. Yeah, absolutely.
So we can kind of look at like small audiences as just really like the core of something that could potentially be bigger. But when you have loyal enthusiasts, even if it's a small number, those people bring other people. Those people introduce other people. So one of the things, especially if we're talking about YouTube specifically, is ask those people to share your stuff so they can introduce you to new people. Not relying only on online. Get out there and gig if you can, because maybe an audience that has not heard of you online or doesn't even know where to find you or that you exist online. You have to get in front of them and see if there's any ways that you can get collaborations with people, or like other YouTubers, Instagrammers, or things like that can use your music and then tag you so that you start to see more people coming and listening to your stuff. But it's really, there's a video by a guy named Derek Sievers. He's the guy who founded CD Baby. And he has a dopest blog. It's at sievers.org, but he has a YouTube video about how to start a movement. And they just show this one guy on a hill at a festival, and there's one guy dancing.
I remember that video. Yeah.
It's like somebody else tries up, and then it's like two other people shot up, and within minutes, there's like an entire crowd dancing, and it's the truest thing, because I have always been the first person on a dance floor. Like, I can cut a rug. I don't care who's watching. I will start dancing, and other people, because of my enthusiasm about it and my passion for it, will attract people nonstop. I can get a party started. So if y'all having a party, just
let her know, because it is. And you know what's crazy is I always say it's always the people. It's not always the best people who get these things happening. It's not always the most skilled. It's just sometimes the person that has the audacity to try it. Just try it. Not even be great and efficient at it. Not even be the best. Like, there's a lot of rappers that sort of make it to the top of the game, and everybody has their philosophies on how it happens. But I think it's those guys who come up and they say, "I know that I'm going to be crucified out here. I know that people are going to talk about my hair. They're going to talk about my red braids. They're going to talk about the way that I rap, the way that I talk. They're going to talk about all of this. And I think that they put themselves purposely on the gauntlet and say, you know what? That's fine. I'm good because I know that at the end of this road, I'm going to have the goal that I want to have accomplished. It's funny because even as I watch LeVar Ball, you know, are you familiar with LeVar Ball and his sons? And the moment he opened his mouth up the very first time, you know, from somebody who has, you know, I don't claim the 48 laws of powers to say that I put that into everything that but I understand the ideology of it. The moment he opened up his mouth, same thing with Trump, which is funny. I'm not making a comparison, but the first time I heard him open his mouth, I said, they're going to get done whatever they want to get done because they've already established that, look, I don't mind being a polarizing figure. This is what it's going to be. Now from here, you are now going to be my audience and I'm going to court attention at all costs. And I keep seeing it happen. And he smiled all the way. He called it from the very beginning of this campaign to get his son in the NBA. He said, my son's going to be a Laker. And sure enough, he get up there with his baller brand hat with the Laker colorways. And he said, I told you so. I told you. So, you know, I think that you're absolutely correct in that it's those folks who have the audacity to just get up there and start dancing first. Now we run off a little beyond time, but I'm so thankful that we have the opportunity to get these questions. I want to knock out probably two more, and then I want you to give. Did you have that gift for the audience, Phil?
I do have a gift for them. I definitely do. So go ahead and ask the questions, and I'll tell you about it.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so. You spoke about it very briefly, but one of the last questions I want to ask you about is there's a lot of services out here that say, you know, pay us $40 and we'll promote your songs to 40,000 people. Or they have these services like, you know, we'll boost your video views and we'll boost that. And two-part question. One, do you believe that these services are great for a young artist or producer to build an audience? One, and then the second part of that is I'm having a brain fart. The second part of that is one is it a good tool for building an audience, and two, it'll come back to me. But do you think that's a good tool to basically have somebody who you don't know what the audience is? They're just promising you these views and this plays. Oh, the second part of that question is there ever a time when boosting numbers in plays and views becomes strategically a good thing? So that's a two-part question. So the first one is, do you believe in that as being an efficient tool? And two, do you ever think that it's something that can be used strategically for somebody trying to build an audience?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't know a lot of the services for distributing music per se, but I am always leery of things that cannot tell you where they syndicate or that can't make promises. And in the PR world, a lot of times that's news wires. And they just like, if you pay us $400, we'll put this press release on the newswire. And guess what? They put it on a newswire and it goes on the back page of a lot of these sites that they said that they're placing you with, but it has no impact because there's not an editor that actually looks and reads and picks up the story. So I feel like a lot of these services, their hustle is just to get you to pay. And it's not necessarily going to, like, yeah, they'll get you placed somewhere, but it's actually people who want your music going to be hearing and seeing. If they cannot create any promises or things in that area, or they don't have relationships with these distribution channels to make sure that you get this, you know, visibility, don't pay it. I just that's my natural hunch. It's like, just be leery of what the claim is, because, you know, they got to make money too. And then what was the part that you had two parts there?
So the second part of that is this. So some folks say, you know what? I don't care if it's getting in front of an editor. I don't care if it's getting in front of real people. I want to boost my numbers because people won't pay attention to me if they don't think other people are paying attention to me. And I've heard this argument, and I've seen many people utilize it, in which they'll go boost and have fictitious YouTube plays. It's funny. I even mentioned in the song, I said, what I say? I paid for some YouTube views, but never comments. Them blogs don't love me, my dude. You know, I'm an imposter. So I gave an anecdote where I'm basically saying I have used it in a strategic manner. I don't know if it was something that, ultimately tipped any kind of scale or started some kind of fictitious tipping point, or maybe people say, oh my God, he has 10,000 views. Maybe I should go check it out, but I've used it as a strategy. I feel completely different than I did when I first utilized it. But do you think that is ever a good tool to utilize for strategy for somebody that's trying to, build up notoriety and
I
build up an
think
audience?
to a degree, well, I always will feel like numbers send a message to people like, oh, if it's hot, then let me check it out too. So I think that can be used
Right.
strategically. But the only difference is if you're going to use something like that, you have to know what your goal is. If your goal is to really be listened to real people, and it is not like, or like people that are like people who will eventually become buyers of your music or real consumers of your product,
Yes.
then that's not the strategy that you're looking to do. But if you're just looking to kind of like what they do is called like positioning, yeah, use it. But those are two
Right.
different goals, and I think that for a record company to have the views and the positioning is part of a bigger strategy that hopefully will get people to become loyalists and ready to and actual listeners and buyers. But unless your
Okay.
goals are specifically that, don't do it.
Right. I agree 100% because I felt that, there is the chance. There is the chance that somebody sees the views and says, oh, this is somebody who's actually a big deal. But then too, the more that time passes, it was funny. I saw an article in the Los Angeles Times where they were speaking to people who were boosting their plays and couldn't bring in 25 people to a show. And they were like, this person has 10 million plays on YouTube, supposedly, and they couldn't get 15 people to a sort of a hole in the wall club. It says a lot, and it does more
Oh
damage
yeah.
than it does good because when you're using that, I mean, that's not a foolproof plan. And then two, like you said, for me, I stopped doing it once I realized, you know what, like this is, first of all, this is not my legacy, and second of all, I don't want to. If you're gonna lie to anybody, don't lie to yourself. And you look at these numbers and you start to kind of believe like, oh, I got some momentum going. You don't know. You never know because you don't know when there's a tipping point even occurring because you've already boosted amongst that. But if it's part of your strategy and you have another in play, do what you do. But that's excellent advice. So we're going to bring it to a close. But before we get to that gift that you have for the audience, which I'm excited for you sharing that with, and I appreciate, two things. So one, do you have any advice for young rappers and producers in terms of just how to approach their marketing and sort of cut through the noise? And then, yeah, that's the first question I have for you. I'm gonna let you go ahead
Right.
and
I
address
think
that. Sort of kind of bring
I
everything
want to
together.
say like don't let it just be about your music. Be a full bodied brand when you come and you step to the game because that's what people are buying into, not just a sound. They're buying into like this persona, this personality, a mindset. Show up fully. But then when you go out there, employ the Instagram, use video, please use video because I feel like that definitely gives people like a full scope of who you are and just not employing just the audible sensory. Just show up and use
Right.
Facebook Live. Definitely I see little young cats all the time just rapping and doing music on Facebook Live. Facebook is promoting your stuff out for free on Facebook Live. Use that mess. You
Yes, absolutely. Well, I don't know why you would not use it. And it blows my mind when I get people that say, I want to build an audience. Do you have a Facebook? Nah, I don't really mess with the Facebook. But I'm like,
2 billion.
there's so many people who are out here who are ready to consume it. And yes, it's going to take time, but there's different ways to do it. Because there was a time where I even, sort of kind of drank the leave Facebook Kool-Aid, and I was this close. I had a PR at one time that was just saying like, you need to focus your efforts to, more so these other networks. And she had good reasoning, but what I was doing was neglecting the fact that I had 5,000 friends on a personal page. And these are people who still want to engage with my content. I was just engaging with them the wrong way by, using naked links or using YouTube links. And, that's the ultimate no-no with Facebook, and they'll push it down, the algorithm, and push it down the timeline, and all these things that you learn along the way. It was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I have to utilize this audience, and I have this audience. Cool. Well, I need to figure out, first of all, how to engage them properly and how to post natively on all of them. Gary Vee always talks about that, posting natively within all of these different networks. But certainly appreciate all this information. I'm excited that I know folks are gonna listen to this and be like, oh my God, like these are the answers I was hoping somebody could clearly state. And I told you, Jasmine Powers, I told you she was a genius in this marketing. I told you, look, you listen to her podcast, because I already said the same thing, but she's a genius in what she does. And you guys have got your questions answered. And before we leave, we have a special
I got a little gift for you. So one of the things that I want you guys to understand is marketing is one thing, sales is another. Sales is how you inbox people and not spam them. Sales is more about getting somebody to convert and actually buy from you. And so I did this. It's called Popping and Paid Masterclass, and I want you guys to be popping and paid. And why I think you guys will love it is because I have a lot of musical references in it, and I think you'll enjoy it. But what it will help you to do, it comes with 5 downloads. So it's an hour training for free with 5 downloads to show you how to slide up in people's DMs without spamming them. So it shows you how to strategically place content and then turn that opportunity into a way you can DM them. So initially it was created for consultants, but it's people who are using the same exact strategies of being a friend and sliding in a DM without being spammy that are getting people the results that they want. So you can access that at bit.ly/PP Masterclass. So PP stands for Popping and Paid, but bit.ly/PP Masterclass. And you can go get that, grab that, listen to the hour-long training, download the 5 downloads, because there's a little step-by-step process that you can do so that you can DM and not be getting on people's nerves.
Right. We appreciate that. And if you think for a second I'm not about to go consume that too, even though I presented you to the audience, y'all crazy. I'm about to be reading and listening to that hour long with you, and we're going to be discussing these things as we go along. We appreciate you so much for sharing and just doing what you do and doing it with such a great heart, because there's so many people out here who, they complicate things when it comes to marketing. And one of the things that I was always shared with one of the most genius marketing minds I ever met, a professor I had named Daniel Morgan, he said, look, marketing is this. How do I tell my story the most clear to the people that wanted to hear it, that need to hear it the most? I was like, man, why nobody ever told me that back when I was in high school trying to figure out this marketing thing, thinking it was, I was mixing it and blending it together with networking, and that's marketing too, and oh no, this is my brand. All these terms that we've been using the wrong way many times, especially, in this genre. I think that it's great when you have individuals like yourself that demystify what these words mean, and just people stop overcomplicating what it is. At the end of the day, you're talking to human beings, and there's certain things that you do that you wouldn't walk up to somebody that you never met. Maybe you would. I don't know everybody on here, but you wouldn't walk up to somebody and say, yo, smell the SoundCloud link. Like, what? No. Like, here, fam, try this. It's like, no, I don't want your SoundCloud. Please walk away. So thank you for demystifying that and breaking that down. I mean, there's a lot more questions. Maybe we can do a part two. Maybe we can do that or something. That would be excellent. We can get to some more, detailed questions. But if you need to contact Jasmine, what is the best way to contact you? Because right now, I'm telling y'all right now, she is helping me become a Facebook ad specialist. I'm about to be out here. You about to be seeing all over your timelines.
You might start offering it and making money.
No. I know my lane. That's something I always teach. I said, look, I know I share the information, but I make sure that the information that you have given me, I want people to go back and reinvest and see what you're doing, because what you're doing it changes lives on a daily basis. And it's crazy. Many people don't look at consulting or look at, marketing, or even like the stuff that I do, they don't look at it from the real aspect that it is, that you're changing lives every single day and giving businesses an opportunity to cut through all the noise. So it's very appreciative. How can people get a hold of you if they have any of those Facebook ad questions, which I had, and this is the reason why I even was introduced. To kind of give you a backstory, I put up a Facebook message and I said, look, one thing I said on your podcast was, put it out into the universe. And by universe, I mean Facebook. That's exactly what I did. I said, does anybody know any Facebook specialists? And two of my friends actually tagged Jasmine, and, shout out to Inkwell J and homie Fred. That was very much needed, and she's been a blessing ever since. How can people get a hold of you?
So number one, connect with me on Facebook. So there's facebook.com/Jasmine Powers Online. So check me out. Girl, I have big hair, so it's me still. But Jasmine Powers Online, or you can check me out at jasminepowers.com.
Sweet. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate everybody who jumped in here and brought your questions. I hope that you're seeing the value in what's going on. Make sure that if you do drop on there, drop a message. You don't have to hit her up with no spam. Please do not go against everything we just said. Look, don't be that person. All the links that we discussed will be in the actual description of this video. Thank you once again for your viewership. Thank you again, Jasmine. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.